it with music, beautiful music. Hello, I'm Fred Miller, and this is yet another one of my lectures in song. Before we dive into the dozen or so song classics and the stories behind them, a little bit about me. I was born in Albuquerque, had a wonderful classical piano teacher as a little kid, right from the time I was 7 years old. Loved the classics, loved grand opera, all that. And then right on my 13th birthday, the day I turned into a teenager, the Beatles arrived in America, and my musical tastes expanded to include the great rock songs of the 60s as well. Followed the top 40 very religiously. That would go on through high school until the summer after I graduated. A friend showed me this article about a big rock festival taking place in upstate New York, and we were two kids just out of high school and up for an adventure, so I said, let's go. So we hitchhiked most of the way from New Mexico to the Woodstock Festival. Wonderful, but I was not interested in being a rock musician even after all that. That really was the peak of the rock age. It wasn't going to get any better than that. I wasn't cut out to be a rock musician anyway. I was a pianist, but I wasn't sure how I was going to turn that into a musical life for myself. I didn't think I was cut out to be a classical musician either. I went to college very briefly, left and traveled around the country a little bit in my VW bug, and finally settled in Greenwich Village, and at some point somebody gave me an album of Ella Fitzgerald singing Cole Porter. That was it. The world of Gershwin, Porter, Kern, Rogers, Berlin, Fred Astaire, Judy Garland, Ethel Merman, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Irving Berlin, the whole wonderful world of this golden age of American popular song. I knew that was going to be my music, and came up with an idea of a lecture in song, each one being a profile of a great personality or some aspect of American popular song. I started with, I thought would be 10 songs, the big names I mentioned, and then songwriters, performers, what have you, and then it just kept expanding. I just kept adding new ones, and now to date, starting with 10, I have 75 different lectures in song, each one described in detail at fredmillermusic.com. The program here, I guess, falls into the novelty category. I call it the story behind the song, 12 classics. I just chose these at random, these 12 interesting songs, 11, however many songs I'm doing here. It's all about, the people behind them and the historical circumstances that created these particular styles. I start really the middle of the 19th century and very tidily end the middle of the 20th century. We'll start with Old Folks at Home and our first great American songwriter, and that is Stephen Foster. Stephen Foster was born July 4th, 1826 in Pittsburgh. He was always considered a problem. He lived a life of just problems. He was a self-destructive kind of personality, made life miserable for just about everybody who came in touch with him, certainly his wife. And I think is totally irresponsible, couldn't handle money, constantly drunk more often than not. And his life really was the stuff of melodrama, the wages of sin and drink and all that. But a very productive life it was. He, among other crazy things he did, I guess in some drunken stupor or whatever, gave away the rights to all his music for pennies to Mr. Christie, the man who led the Christie Minstrels, a big producer of his day, leader of a big troupe. He made lots of money, eventually, of course, but he lost it all and, of course, had no rights. He would never actually see. Eventually, the rights came back to him, but he would never actually see his name on his printed music. The song I've chosen is of these many, he died at 38. Again, just sort of thinking some sort of broken down dive in New York City. Again, the stuff of melodrama. The song I've chosen is Old Folks at Home. It has the first line is way down upon the Swanee River. That word, Swanee, is taken on legendary status. Originally, it was going to be the Petey River in Florida, but then he settled on, there's a river, S-U-W-A-N-E-E, 3 syllables, Suwannee, became Swanee, 2 syllables. And, you want to quote some of the greatest of American popular songs here. If you want to hear that Swanee River played in ragtime, or a million baby kisses I'll deliver the minute that you sing that Swanee River, or Swanee. How I love you, my dear old Swanee.